Spring has sprung and the weather only continues to warm up. That means ticks are already out in parts of the province. Let's discuss with Dr. Matthew Tenenbaum, the Associate Medical Officer of Health in Wellington, Dufferin, Guelph. Dr. Tenenbaum, thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me today.
So last year we talked about the increase in the tick population. Do you expect that to be the trend going into this summer as the weather does continue to warm up?
I would say yes. I know year on year, we're always seeing the parts of the province that have ticks established is growing. Part of that is because of climate change and the fact that more and more parts of Ontario are good habitat for ticks to live in, including through the entire year. So each year, it seems like more of the province is affected, and that includes more of our region. So the risk of coming in contact with a tick this year is at least as high as it was last year.
And we know Lyme disease is usually transmitted through blackleg ticks. Do you expect to see rates of Lyme disease increasing as well this year?
We might. It's tricky to translate the tick exposure risk with the Lyme disease risk because it depends upon whether or not someone who has been exposed to a tick recognizes symptoms, goes to a doctor who notifies us. We know that there are many tick exposures that never result in Lyme disease, and there is a bit of a disconnection between how those rates change. But we do expect there can be some people who are aware of symptoms they have following a tick bite, and then they come to our attention as a Lyme disease case.
Okay, while we're on the topic of diseases, are there any other diseases that ticks can transmit that people should be aware of?
So there are a number of different kind of tick-borne diseases, and the kinds of diseases that can be spread also vary depending on which species of tick population we're talking about. You know, black-legged ticks are of course relevant with Lyme disease, but we also think about things like anaplasmosis and babesiosis and a number of other diseases that can be spread by ticks. I'll also mention that depending on where you are in the world, there are different kinds of diseases that the ticks in those regions spread. So occasionally people come having traveled and having been outdoors while they travel and feeling sick because of some other non-endemic disease that is relevant only to tick populations from other parts of the world. So those kinds of things happen and they vary from place to place.
Okay. What's your advice for people, not only when it comes to protecting themselves, but also for their pets from picking up a tick?
So the key thing is just to recognize how difficult it is for a tick to be spotted and how easy it is for a tick to get on you. You know, these are very, very, very small insects. Essentially what they're doing is they are living in tall grass or brushy areas, and they are waiting for a human or a dog or another animal to come in contact with them, and then they'll try and make a jump from where they're sitting on the tip of a blade of grass, for example, onto your skin or your clothes. And typically what it'll do is try to find a spot to bite you. You may not know that you're being bitten, but that tick will bite and try and draw some blood, and it can stay attached for a number of days as it gradually draws blood and gets more visible as it gets more engorged. They often are in spots in the body that are hard to detect, so places like the armpits or the groin. They can be difficult to spot because of where they're sitting. It is a good idea if you are outdoors to try and cover up with, clothing that covers exposed areas of skin. It is easier to spot ticks on your clothes if you have light colored clothes. And as well, when you're coming back from outdoors time, it's a good idea to check yourself for areas that may have ticks attached and doing a spot check for a family member, for example, or a pet for if they have ticks.
Okay, I know in the past we've talked about how your public health unit would test ticks in hopes of identifying them. Is that something that you're looking at doing this year? And if so, how does that process work?
So we used to have a process where people could submit ticks and those ticks would go to the lab and be tested to see if the ticks carry Lyme disease. Unfortunately, that program no longer exists, but what we do offer is an ability for people to submit ticks, typically photos of ticks, to us, and we'll actually have an inspector take a look at them and help you identify whether it's a black-legged tick versus another kind of tick, because that can help us understand the risk of Lyme disease associated with that. So we do have a form you can access through our website, wdgpublichealth.ca, and one of our staff will help you figure out whether it's the kind of tick that can carry Lyme disease or not.
Okay, some good advice as we head into those warmer months ahead. Dr. Tenenbaum, thanks as always for your time. Dr. Matthew Tenenbaum is the Associate Medical Officer of Health in Wellington, Dufferin, Guelph. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.